Welcome back to Blog Access 101. I'm your host, Young Abachi. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify by searching Blog Access 101. If you're on YouTube, remember to hit the bell so you don't miss any notification when we release new videos. I'm here today with special guest, Candi Waller. How you doing, Candi?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. Can't complain. It's Monday afternoon after spring break.
Yeah.
Mhm. So we'll jump right into the first topic. Just briefly introduce yourself, who you are, what got you into sports media, and how do you get yourself into the door, and what's your current role? I know that was a three-part question.
Okay. No, I appreciate it. And thank you for so much for having me.
No
My
problem.
name is Candi Waller. I am the founder and chief executive officer of Seawall Sports and Entertainment. Seawall Sports and Entertainment is a sports media outlet, digital media, and can also be found on local cable television in Prince George's County, Maryland, focusing on all sports in the Washington metropolitan area. So everything from Commanders, Wizards, Mystics, Caps, Nats, DC Defenders, DC United, everything from following Bowie State, the Howards, March Madness, kind of quick tournament, entry and exit, the Maryland Terps, men's, women, everybody, you name it, we cover it in the DC area. How I got into sports media, I grew up just loving sports. I am a watcher of all things sports, competitive sports. I just loved it. It just loved it. It was the excitement. It was the energy from the fans. It was the energy from the players, the coaches, just watching the masterminds of overall game adjustments, skill set, everything about the game. I just love watching. And that's from a teaming sports and individual sports perspective. I did not go to college. I did not go to school for sports. It was something that I just had a passion for. And it just came a point in my life where I said, you know what? It was kind of like, hey, be the change you want to see. Right. And it was like, if I want to see more of me on TV, more of me all over the internet, of or people that look like me, then why not I be one of those faces? And so that's when I started Seawall Sports and Entertainment. Actually, just celebrated 6 years in business on March the 6th.
Yeah, I saw you guys had an event too. I think it was on March 6th. I was like, oh,
Yeah, I mean, we had one. Look, that's all the excitement still from last year. But we didn't have, I was at the combine this year.
okay.
And recovering from the NFL combine this year on my business anniversary. But yeah, we had a big celebration for year 5. And then year 6 was in Indianapolis for the most part.
Yeah, I saw Georgetown got Ed Cooley from Providence. I was shocked that he left Providence. I mean, obviously Georgetown more prominent than Providence. I just felt he built a big culture over there in Providence. I thought he was going to
Mhm.
retire there,
Yep.
which is a bigger program, given bigger
Mhm.
opportunity. So what are some barriers that you face as a woman in the sports media world?
Well, the first thing people always tell you is, well, did you play? Did you play sport? Did you play? Because that's the first thing somebody wants to ask you when you want to talk sports anyway. The first thing they're going to say is, well, if you didn't play, you don't understand. If you're not out there, you don't get it. But and so that's one barrier, right? It's that folks don't understand that you can study, you can see, you can use your brain, and you can figure out, and you can ask questions, right? Part of researching is asking questions. Part of researching is being observant and being a student. And so that's what I did, formally and informally. So that's one barrier, right? Not to, you didn't play basketball, you play football, hey, but now for some odd reason I end up knowing all of it anyway. So it's all good. Another barrier is just being a woman, being a Black woman. I mean, there's often times, I will give you a real life example of just recently at the NFL Combine, when someone said, I'm clearly wearing a media badge, and someone says, oh, who are you here supporting? I said, what do you mean? I said, oh, do you have, someone that's a participant? Well, not directly, but I'm here actually working, because the assumption is you either have a significant other, or you have a child, a family member or something that's there, you can't possibly be there as media. So it's a lot of assumptions that all add into those barriers that just haven't quite gone away just yet.
Yeah, I see that a lot sometimes, even when I'm like referencing with another, like a woman official. They just people acting weird, like basically kind of figure like, are they their mom or something? Like, no, that's my partner for the game. Like, what are y'all talking about? But
and then
so
of course there's always the groupie aspect, right? They think you're a groupie, you think you're there to meet somebody, you're not there to work. So
yeah, that's always been issues, not just sports, just in general, just sexism. I still continue to work on that, but we still got a long ways to go. What advice would you give younger women that's trying to get into the sports media world?
I would just give the advice of no fear. Of no fear. That's kind of a recurring message that I've even been sharing, you know, when I do my affirmations every day. No fear. There are often times that you know, for women, you will be the only woman in the room. For those of us that are minorities, you know, there's a huge, you know, chance that you'll be the only minority in the room. And if for Black women, there's a chance that you might be the only minority and the only woman in the room. And you cannot let that deter you from what you are purposed to do and what you have passion for. So that's first and foremost. My other feedback is to get to know others in the industry. Just, you know, networking, having effective business acumen is a real thing. And you can't go alone. Some of us want us to go alone, but it's good to have a network and a circle of people that you can connect with. You know, join your local organizations, Women in Sports and Events, WISE, of the National Association of Black Journalists, NABJ. You can join those organizations and really get to know other people, even if it's just, you know, just to grab drinks with, or even strategize or brainstorm, or maybe even take a course. But it is important to just connect with others in the industry as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then I did a segment last year, Women in Sports. A couple of friends and people I met through Twitter. They were just saying like somehow being a woman, Black or white, that they would see issues with other women, would see them as a threat rather than an ally. And I mean, I obviously I never thought that, but I can see it now when I look at it from their lenses. Like that's crazy though, because it's really just y'all against everybody else. I mean, I really like having a line instead of competing. But I can see why the other one might see another woman as a threat, because it's right now it's minimal, so it's like dog eat dog world.
Right. And that's why exactly right. That's why I mentioned WISE, Women in Sports and Events. Get involved with those organizations. You're exactly right. We're in this together. Do not look at the next woman as your competition, right? The only competition you have is the person that you were the day prior. That's it, and that's all. And so the more collaborative we are, the more we're championing and cheering each other on, the better we all are.
Definitely. Who's your role model or someone you look up to in the sports media world or just in general?
You know, I can't, that question is always like a stump for me, because I've always, it changes, depends on what season you're in, right? So I'm always inspired by people that are like the underdog. Serena Williams is great. She's GOAT, I believe, right? In her field, and one of the greatest athletes of all time. But once she got a certain age, right? Once she had a child, people were like, she need to hang it up. She need to go ahead. She need to go. And then what did Serena do? You know, she comes back. She still plays at an elite, you know, she still played at an elite level, all of those things, right? Tom Brady, very much the same from an athlete perspective. Once he got 40, 41, 42, Tom need to hang it up. Now, yes, he did end up retiring, but I always look at the athletes and those figures that society say they're done. They're over because of their certain age or because of something that happened, and they come back and they persevere and they just have that heart of a champion and that work ethic of a champion, and they just continue to excel. So I name those two, but I mean anybody in any industry, in any field, where, I mean, we even see this with entertainers, right? Where people say, Somebody had a bad album. Oh, they're not good anymore. Nobody wants to go and see them perform. And then they sell out shows across the globe. Those are the types of stories and people that inspire me on a daily basis.
Excellent. What is your dream job in the sports media world?
Whew, that's a great question. I think my dream job. Look, sometimes I'm like, do I have my dream job? But no, that's a great question. It is owning a television network. It is owning a television network where it's all day cycled in and out. We're, that's all we do. Sports news all day, all different types of shows, doing extensive fan engagement, doing fun things, working in the community, as well with the athletes and the teams. I think so often, many of the teams, I think all of them have a community aspect. Most of the athletes and even many of the coaches have their own foundations, but those are the stories that aren't told and aren't publicized the most, right? So how can we get folks more engaged and understanding and knowing what everybody is doing in the community? Because many of these athletes are doing so much and those stories aren't getting told. So that would probably be my most favorite dream job in sports media.
Yeah, that's definitely good. A lot of coaches and players, like the DeMar Hamlin situation, he was doing something, raising money for Christmas, and they really didn't get the money until after that tragic injury.
Right, exactly. Nobody knew until,
yeah.
of course, now his name is popular because of the situation, exactly to your point, and now it's raised millions of dollars. So how can we get those stories out more without there being a tragedy that has occurred in order for people to pay attention?
Yeah, definitely. What is one athlete you would love to interview in the future?
I think I'm gonna go back to one of the athletes I mentioned earlier, and I would say Serena Williams. I really would love to interview her just from the perspective of her love of tennis, her decision, right, to get married, to have a child, how she blocks out the noise, how she blocks out the negativity, right? Athletes, entertainers, those that entertain us on a regular basis have to go through a lot. And having to block out the noise and still keep up with your workouts and still keep up with your craft, whatever that may be. I would love to interview her to just understand more about that mindset, her nutrition strategy and plan, and just the decision to be married, to be a wife, be a mom, all of that.
Yes, definitely major key. What was the lowest moment you faced in the sports media world?
I want to say it was the start of the pandemic.
Oh yeah.
I think that quite frankly, that sucked. That was bad. That felt bad, right? I mean, I don't know about for you, but I know for me, it's always like, where were you when the first positive coronavirus test came in, when it was Rudy Gobert in the NBA? What were you doing? I was actually out with a friend watching it on TV and was watching them clear out people in the arena, right? And then that was in March. So then watching all of the, different teams say they're not playing in the tournaments, then the announcement that the tournament was over. And that was just a low moment in sports, because we all know sports doesn't shut down for anything. So once sports was shutting down, I know that was my signal that this is an emergency. We're dealing with a global emergency right now. Anytime they're like, everybody go home and don't come out until we tell you to. And then it was hard just from a business perspective, right? I'm an entrepreneur in this game, and I had to really think long and hard about, well, what am I going to do from a content perspective? And it was a low moment, but it was also a huge pivot moment for me, because that's how I had to learn all of the Zooms and the StreamYards and the this and the that, because I used to go in the studio all the time. I was afraid of technology. And then with that, I had to learn technology in order to survive, because, okay, you can't just wait until the studio opens back up, because who knows when the studio is going to open back up. So that was a low moment, I think, for many in the sports world, is when that pandemic first hit, and then seeing so many of my colleagues lose their jobs or get furloughed.
Yeah.
It was rough. It was hard.
Yeah, it was like I remember that interview. I was at home when Rudy Gobert when they canceled everything. Rudy Gobert touching on
Mhm,
the mics and stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, you got to
mhm,
chill. But I was shocked. I was also shocked that the March Madness was canceled. I figured they still would have had that playing. Obviously,
mhm.
with nobody in the stands. I figured they still because it's just so big every March, and they missed out on a lot of money. So that's
Mhm.
really can tell people the magnitude of COVID-19 at that part. People still thinking it wasn't real. I'm like, they shut down March Madness. You guys should start thinking like this is real. Or
Yep.
and it was. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people, friends, family that got furloughed. Luckily, I taught at a school, and we just worked online, which was, I guess you could say,
Mhm.
kind of good, but it wasn't. The situation wasn't good with dealing with the COVID. But yeah, you definitely had to get acquainted with Zoom, especially with me with teaching. I had to get acquainted with Zoom, and obviously internet issues with some families in Philly, not able to get on. And just trying to pivot around that aspect. People weren't blessed with internet, so you had to find other ways for them to get work done, which was a complete headache, but I was able to get it done. Uh, but yeah, so it just kind of threw off everything. But my last question: what was your greatest moment in the sports media world?
I think I'm going to be. Let me see, because I've experienced when the Caps won the cup, the Stanley Cup, and when the Nats won the World Series. I was in the business, but I was not there physically at those games. I was there physically and covered the Washington Mystics championship run. And that was really, really cool. Now I bring that up because they never got a parade. I mean, it was, the pandemic and everything happened, but um that was just really enjoyable to see the true joy in the players, the coaches. I mean, that's what every athlete and coach, that's what they dream of,
Mhm.
is winning a championship at the professional level. And so being able to be a member of the working media and covering the entire their entire regular season, the playoffs, and the WNBA finals. That definitely is top of mind for me in covering a championship and winning it.
Yeah,
Having the team that you cover actually win it. It was amazing.
yeah, because Washington sports is hot for a second with the Mystics winning the WNBA,
Mhm.
Nationals,
Yeah.
MLB.
Yeah, we want to roll there for a minute.
And I was like Washington football next, and I was like, all right, hold on now, fans. Like,
But they were on a roll because it was the Caps in 2018, and then the Nats had just won the World Series.
mhm.
And then was it that? No, it was all right there together. It was
Yeah,
all
it
a
was hard
blur
to
because
spell.
I
Yeah,
remember watching, matter of fact, it might have been the Mystics, then the Nats, because I remember watching Nats playoff games. Like we wouldn't leave the arena. We would just stay in the arena and still watch the Nats. It was all happening at the same time.
yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah,
I
it
feel
was
bad for
crazy.
Bryce Harper though, because he left and came to us, and then they win the next
Yep.
year. I'm like,
Yep.
wow.
The
I
very
know he.
next year they won. It was crazy. It was crazy.
So hopefully we get him one this year since we got Trey Turner now. Hopefully our pitching state is able
Trey is
to
awesome.
hold.
Trey is awesome. So is Bryce.
Yeah,
I wanted to see. I'm not one of those, people from when they've been in another town, you don't want to see them win. No, I really was hoping Bryce they would win last year. Even though it is the Phillies, I was like, nah, man. I hope Bryce wins one. So I was like, tag when they didn't pull it off. But he's just come. I'm just so I don't even know how I missed this, but I'm just seeing that he's coming back from Tommy John surgery. So I
yeah.
hope he's
Said it might be out for a while. I think
all
maybe we'll come back until when the season start, March, August or
right.
September. I'm like, well, no, I
Yeah.
mean, August, early September. And I'm like, hope, well, at least we got Trey Turner, so and we
Yeah,
got Schwarber, so that might keep us
great.
just all going to be piggyback on the pitcher, see how they play. That's what messes up in the World Series, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, just final thing. Let the people know where they can follow you at and find you.
Okay, so if you are on Twitter, I can be found at Seawall SE. On Instagram to follow DMV Sports News. You can follow me at Seawall Sports. My personal is CEO Seawall. On Facebook and YouTube is Seawall Sports and Entertainment. And I have a website, www.seawallse.com. And between all of those sites, you'll see my work on Bowie Television, as well as the work that I do for Inside the Wizards, on Sports Illustrated Fan Nation, which I'm the publisher for as well. So yeah, you can find me. I can be found. Trust me.
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming onto the podcast today and giving us your time. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yes, I did. I really had a good time. Thank you so much again for having me.
Yeah, no problem.